So on the side of the lens, you're going to see a little button that says autofocus AF and MF right here. Autofocus is pretty good. It's actually very good, and the more expensive cameras are even better. The problem with autofocus, though, is it'll only take a picture when it's focused, right? If it doesn't focus, it doesn't take the picture. And that's a problem, especially if you're doing an event, somebody's coming out of a court, it's very quick, you only have a second or two, and you have to take the pictures. So when you're on photo assignment, recommend manual focus. Again, see the MF, and then you focus, the focusing ring is here. And the thing with that is every time I push the picture, it will always take the photograph. Whereas if I'm in autofocus, see, that's a problem. So be careful of that. But again, for most of what you're doing, the autofocus is probably fine. But if you're in an event where time matters, that's what you want to do. And play around with it. Get to know the camera. So auto manual focus. There's also a stability button right there. See, it says on and off. Leave it on. It's a minimal help, but it's better than nothing to take away some of the shake on the camera. And you're good that way. So ISO is number one. The second thing that affects the exposure of your camera is the shutter speed. Again, these are not in any order, but the shutter speed is how fast the camera actually takes the photograph. If I take the lens off, I can actually illustrate that to you. If you look here, you'll see the mirror. If I have a slow shutter speed, you see how the mirror has lifted up? And it's exposing. You can see there's an electronic sensor back there that's actually picking up and taking the photograph. So the faster the shutter speed, if I change the shutter speed and make it faster, see how it's faster? And I can shoot even faster than that. So the faster I go, less light comes in. You see that when the shutter's open or when the sensor is exposed to the light for a longer period of time, more light burns in on it. So the faster the shutter speed, the faster the camera will expose the sensor behind. Less light will come in, which means that it's grabbing the action. So if I'm throwing a baseball, it'll capture that action, but less lights come in and the camera has to compensate for the less amount of light coming in. And again, one of the ways it does that is with the ISO. By going with a higher ISO, it makes it more sensitive to light so that the light that does hit the imaging sensor is recorded and gives us the proper exposure. So does that make sense? ISO, how sensitive the camera is to light. Shutter speed, how fast the shutter opens and closes and how much light comes into the camera. So let me actually show you how to set up the shutter speed. When you're in the manual mode on the camera, you can adjust the shutter speed again on the back. So this camera is in manual mode, so I see the M over here. The shutter speed here is 1/15 of a second. This is my f-stop or my aperture. We'll talk about that in a minute. And this is my ISO. So my ISO is set for 6400 and manual. So I have full control of the camera. I'm also shooting large JPEGs, and I have 923 pictures. You can also slow the camera down really low. There's 4 seconds, 5, 6, 7 seconds. So if I'm shooting a city at night, I'm shooting out my window, I want the traffic, and I want the kind of the lights blur, I can use a slower shutter speed, and I can try that. Another thing you can use a slow shutter speed for is maybe water. You know, it's got that silky look. If you have a longer exposure, then the camera will record all the water and it's moving and give you a nice sort of soft, silky shot. One of the things that you learn about photojournalism is you are not allowed to Photoshop very much after the fact. So if there's something in the shot in the background, you can't Photoshop it out. All the imaging has to be done with the camera, so you can do in-camera effects. I can do blur and motion and that kind of stuff, but they all have to be done with the camera. So it's good to know these sort of things. You also saw the bulb effect. There was a bulb setting, and what bulb is when it's on bulb, if I push the camera, it will stay open until I let go of the shutter button. Here's a quick side note, a drop in. If I'm in shutter speed priority and I want to do a night shot, and I want to do a long shot, say I want to do a 30-second shot of the sky or a night scene, I'm trying to get stars. If I just put it up like this and push the button, when I push the button, the camera's going to move, and that's going to ruin the shot because the shutter's going to open up, it's going to blur, and the whole thing will be no good. So there are different drive modes. When I'm in single shot, when I push the button down, it's going to take one picture. This one here is multiple modes. So if I go over to that, This is called continuous shutting. When I hold the button, the shutter button down, click, 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 it's going to take them as long as I'm holding the button down. Great for sports and other scene type of need where you need more than one picture quickly. You then have the self timer. There's a 10-second timer if you want to be in the picture, the original selfie mode. And there's also a 2-second self timer. I really like the 2-second self timer, and that's what I use for long exposure. So I'm going to select 2-second self timer right like this. I've got it on a 30-second exposure. I'm going to aim it up at the sky, and then I'm going to push the button, and then I'm going to let it go. It's going to count to 2, and now I'm not anywhere near it. It's exposing the sky, the stars and everything, and my camera is not being moved. Does that make sense? Because when you push the button, if I knock it a little bit, that's enough to blur the whole picture, and you have to be careful of that. See this line right here? This is the EV, exposure value. And if you look really closely, you'll see that there's a bar under the number 5. And so what this allows you to do, this allows you to make some minor exposure changes, either a little brighter, a little darker. It should be set to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this button, the AV button here. I'm going to turn the wheel, and that will then put that little marker back in the middle. Does that make sense? So sometimes if you're taking a picture and it looks really overexposed or underexposed, it's because this is set wrong. The other thing you're going to watch for is this little button here, or it's actually see how it's a light bulb? If you touch that, I can actually change this to different things: cloudy, daylight, auto. What I found is the auto white balance is very good, so I would suggest leaving it on auto white balance. You can also custom, see how there's this button right here. This is a full manual white balance like you do with a video camera. You hold up a white piece of paper, you push the set button right here, but don't fiddle around with that, especially when you're learning, right? There's no sense doing that. Let's just put this back to auto white balance. Okay, so that should say AWB. Again, this should be L with the wedge of cheese beside it, and the ISO set to auto, but you can adjust that, and you should adjust that manually, but just for what I'm showing you here. So that's a quick look at how focus works, ISO, and shutter speed on a DSLR.